What would you do if the sea gave you something you could not understand? Would you keep it, throw it back, or try to discover its secret? I often asked myself this question because of the strange day when my life changed forever. I grew up in a small fishing village near the coast. My father was a fisherman, and when he died, I took his place. The sea was my only way to feed myself and my family. Many days I came home with nothing. On some evenings, I sat in the sand, hungry, staring at the waves and wondering why life had to be so hard. I told myself that one day the sea would give me a gift, but I did not know what kind of gift it would be. Before I continue, I want to ask you something. Where are you listening from right now? Which country, which city? Please share it in the comments. And if you enjoy stories like this, make sure to subscribe and share with friends so you never miss a new one. That morning started like many others. The sky was gray and the wind was sharp. I pushed my small boat into the water, even though my stomach was empty. I needed fish to sell in the market, and I needed food for my little brother and sister. I threw my net again and again, but each time I pulled it up, it was empty. The more I tried, the more hopeless I felt. After some hours, the net caught something heavy. My heart beat faster. I thought it was finally a big fish. But when I pulled it up, I found an old jar. It was dirty and covered with green sea plants. At first, I was angry. I needed fish, not rubbish. I wanted to throw it back, but then I noticed that the jar was not like others. It had strange marks on the top, and the surface was made of something that looked like gold. I washed it in the water, and the more I looked, the more curious I became. Who had lost this? How long had it been in the sea? My hands shook a little as I opened the top. At first, nothing happened. Then, a white smoke rose from inside. I froze. The smoke grew larger and larger until it formed into the shape of a man. No, not a man, a giant. He was taller than any person I had ever seen, with eyes like burning stones. I wanted to run, but my legs felt weak. The giant looked down at me, and his voice was deep and heavy. "You freed me," he said, "and for that you must die." I could not believe his words. My lips moved slowly as I asked, "Why? What have I done?" He told me his story. Long ago, he had angered a powerful queen. As punishment, she had trapped him inside the jar and thrown him into the sea. At first, he said, he had promised himself that whoever freed him would be rewarded. But after many years alone, his heart had grown bitter. He decided that the person who opened the jar would not be blessed, but cursed. I listened in silence, trying to hide my fear. My mind was racing. How could I survive? His hands were as large as my whole body. His shadow covered me. My only hope was my voice. But how can you fit into such a small jar? I asked. You are taller than a tree. How could you hide inside this tiny thing? The giant laughed loudly. Do you doubt me? I will show you. His body changed into smoke again, swirling quickly into the jar. In an instant, he was gone, only his voice echoing from inside. Without thinking, I closed the lid as fast as I could. My heart pounded in my chest. I had trapped him again. I felt strong for the first time in years, stronger even than the sea. "Open it!" the giant cried. "Do not leave me here. I will reward you, I promise." I shook my head. "You lied once already. Why should I believe you?" "I swear," he said, "I will not harm you. I will give you wealth, food, and safety." You and your family will never suffer again." His words filled my mind. I wanted to believe him. I thought of my little brother and sister waiting at home, their faces pale with hunger. What if this was my chance to give them a better life? I hesitated, and then I opened the jar once more. The giant rose again, this time with softer eyes. He did not attack me. Instead, he waved his hand, and smoke spread across the sea. The water shimmered blue and gold, brighter than I had ever seen it. Fish of every color swam below. Red, silver, green, and even golden ones. The sight was magical. "Cast your net now," the giant said. I did, and in a moment I caught 3 fish more beautiful than anything I had seen before. Their scales shone like jewels in the sunlight. The giant nodded. "Take these to your ruler. You will see what happens next." He disappeared into the air, leaving only a faint trail of smoke. My hands trembled as I rowed back to the shore. The fish moved inside the basket, as if they were alive with secret power. When I reached the market, people gasped at the sight. No one had ever seen such fish. The news spread quickly, and soon I was standing in front of the palace gates, holding the basket tightly. Guards looked at me with suspicion, but then opened the way. The ruler of our land wanted to see me. I stepped into the great hall with shaking knees. The ruler sat high on his throne, wearing bright clothes and a crown of silver. His eyes widened when he saw the fish. He ordered them to be taken to his cook at once. Then he turned to me. "You have done well," he said. "These fish will bring good fortune. You shall be rewarded." He gave me a bag heavy with gold coins. I had never touched so much money in my life. That night, for the first time, my family ate a meal that was not only fish. We had bread, fruit, and meat. My brother laughed loudly, my sister smiled with bright eyes, and I felt tears of joy. I thought the worst days were over. I believed the sea had finally given me its gift. But I was wrong. What happened after that meal was stranger than anything I had seen on the water. It began in the ruler's kitchen, with smoke rising once more. The next morning, I woke with hope in my heart. I still held the gold that the ruler had given me, and for the first time, my family had food and laughter. I thought the hard days were behind us, but when I walked into the village, people were whispering. They looked at me strangely, and I felt their eyes on my back. Soon I learned why. Something strange had happened in the palace kitchen. The ruler's cook had placed the beautiful fish over the fire. He wanted to prepare them for the ruler's feast. But when the fire touched their scales, smoke of blue and gold rose from the pan. From the smoke, a woman appeared. Her hair was long, and her face was pale as snow. She looked at the fish with dark, sad eyes. Then she spoke with a voice that echoed like the sea. "Fish, fish, are you doing your work?" she asked. The fish lifted their heads and answered together, We are happy." The cook was frozen with fear. The woman pushed the fish deeper into the fire, and in a second, she disappeared into the smoke again. When the ruler entered to see his meal, the cook was shaking. He pointed at the fire, but the fish were gone. Only ashes remained. The ruler did not believe him at first, but the cook swore on his life. Angry but curious, the ruler sent his guards to call me. "Bring me 3 more of those fish," he ordered. I obeyed because I had no choice. I went back to the sea and cast my net. Once again, the water shone blue and gold. And once again, I caught 3 fish more beautiful than the last. I carried them carefully to the palace. The ruler gave me more gold, but his face was not happy. He wanted to see with his own eyes what the cook had described. This time, the ruler stood in the kitchen while the fish cooked. I waited outside with my heart beating fast. Suddenly, I heard voices. A loud cry came from the fire, and when the ruler stepped back, the smoke rose again, this time red and gold. From the smoke appeared a tall man with red hair, his eyes burning like flames. "Fish, fish, are you doing your work?" he asked in a voice that shook the walls. The fish lifted their heads and answered, we are happy." Then, like the woman before him, the man pushed the fish into the fire. The smoke swallowed him, and he was gone. The ruler came out of the kitchen with a pale face. He looked at me closely, as if I held answers he could not find. "Where do these fish come from?" he demanded. I told him about the sea over the mountain, the place where the giant had led me. The ruler listened with sharp eyes, and then he said, "You will take me there, today." My legs shook at his command, but I had no choice. Soon I was walking ahead of him, his guards close behind, through the rocky path that led over the mountain. The ruler did not speak much, but I could feel his thoughts racing. He wanted to know what power lived in those waters, and he wanted to control it. When we reached the top, the blue and gold sea stretched before us. The ruler's eyes widened, and his men gasped. The water shone like jewels, and the fish swam like living sparks of light. But it was not only the sea that shocked us. On the far side, there was a house made of red stone, tall and silent, surrounded by a garden full of flowers I had never seen before. The ruler ordered us to cross. As we drew closer, I felt a strange air around the place. The flowers smelled sweet, but also heavy, like they were hiding secrets. The door of the house was open. No one answered when the ruler called, so we entered. Inside, the rooms were wide and filled with beautiful carpets and painted walls. Yet, no people were there. Silence filled every corner. Finally, we came into a great hall, where the ceiling rose high above us, and the windows were long and narrow. In the middle of the hall lay a young man. He was handsome but pale, and his feet were covered with a cloak. His voice was soft, but it reached us clearly. "When will I die?" he said. "I do not want to live like this." The ruler stepped forward, confused, and pulled the cloak from the young man's legs. We gasped. His feet were not flesh, but white stone. The young man looked at the ruler with sad eyes. "You are a king," he said. "Please sit, and I will tell you the truth of this place." We listened in silence as he spoke. He said that once, this had been a great city. He had been its prince, and when his father died, he became king. He married a woman of beauty, but her heart did not belong to him. She loved another, a servant in the palace. When the young king learned of it, his heart filled with anger. He tried to fight the servant, and though he wounded him, the man did not die. His legs were broken, and he could never walk again. The queen was full of rage. She had powers of magic, and she used them to punish her husband. She changed his feet into white stone so he could not move. Then she cursed the city. The people became fish. The buildings sank under the water, and only the red stone house remained. The servant, broken but alive, lived in a small house in the garden. The queen visited him every day. As I listened, my blood grew cold. The fish I had caught were not ordinary fish. They were once people. The woman and the man who rose from the fire must have been part of the curse. I looked at the ruler, and I saw anger in his eyes. He hated magic he could not control. He stood, his sword heavy at his side. "Show me the servant's house," he said. The young king pointed weakly to the garden. The ruler and 2 of his guards entered the small house. I did not see what happened inside, but soon the ruler returned with his sword red. His face was hard. He had killed the servant. The queen came later that day. She stepped into the red stone house, calling for her lover. She thought the ruler was him. He lay on the bed, wearing the servant's cloak, and answered her with a low voice. "Why can you not sleep, my love?" she asked. "Because the young king is crying," the ruler said. "His stone feet give him pain." The queen went to her husband and with her magic water washed his feet. At once, the stone turned to flesh and he stood tall again. She returned to the bed, smiling. "Why can you not sleep now, my love?" she asked again. "Because the people of the city cry," the ruler said. "They do not want to be fish any longer." The queen walked to the sea and spoke her magic words. At once the city rose again from under the water. Houses stood tall, streets filled with people, and the sound of life returned. The curse was broken. The queen returned, her eyes full of love. "Are you happy now, my dearest?" she asked. She leaned close to the man on the bed, but as she did, the ruler pulled a knife from his cloak and struck her heart. Her cry filled the hall, and she fell dead at his side. I covered my face with my hands. The air grew heavy with silence. The young king walked slowly, his steps free at last. His people were alive, but his queen was gone. He looked at the ruler and did not speak. The ruler wiped his blade and turned to me. His eyes were cold, but his lips formed a thin smile. "This is what power means," he said. "Remember it." I did not know what to say. My hands were shaking, and my heart was heavy. The sea had given me a gift, but it was not simple. It was not only food and gold, it was secrets, pain, and blood. That night, I sat by the water again. My brother and sister slept with full stomachs, but I could not rest. I wondered if the giant had known this would happen when he told me to bring the fish to the ruler. I wondered if the sea still held more secrets for me, waiting to rise. I thought my story was finished, but I was wrong. The sea had not finished with me yet. After the queen's death, the air around us grew still. I felt as if the walls of the redstone house were listening. The young king walked slowly across the hall. His legs, once stone, now moved freely. His people, once trapped as fish, now lived again in the city outside. But his eyes were not full of joy. They were heavy with grief. The ruler looked at him with pride, as if he had saved the land. But I could see the truth. The young king had lost his queen, even if she had betrayed him. His city was restored, but it was not the same. It would never be the same. The ruler spoke words of friendship, promising that his city and the young king's city would help each other. Yet I knew that this promise was not made with a full heart. The ruler wanted power, not peace. I stood quietly, trying not to draw attention to myself. I felt like a shadow in the corner of the room. My thoughts were not on kings or cities, but on my family. I wanted to go home. I wanted to see my brother and sister and hold them close. But the sea had already tied me to its secrets, and I feared it would not let me go so easily. The young king asked me to stay for a few days. He said he wanted to thank me for bringing the truth to light. I agreed, though inside I longed for my village. During those days, I saw how the people of the city celebrated their freedom. The streets were alive with music and voices. Children ran in the gardens, and food filled every table. Yet in the palace silence remained. The young king walked with slow steps, his eyes always searching the horizon. One evening, he called me to his chamber. He spoke softly, his face pale in the candlelight. "You were part of this story," he said. "The sea chose you to carry it. Do not forget that the sea gives, but it also takes. Guard your heart, for the ocean is never finished with those it touches." His words stayed with me. That night I dreamed of the jar. I saw smoke rising again, and the giant's eyes watching me. His voice whispered in my ear, though I was asleep. "You freed me, and I freed you, but freedom is never free." I woke with my skin cold and my heart racing. The next morning, the ruler decided to return to his own city. He ordered me to come with him, but the young king stopped him. "She belongs to the sea, not to your palace," he said firmly. The ruler did not argue, but the look he gave me was sharp, as if he planned to find me again. When they left, I felt both relief and fear. I stayed one more day, then the young king gave me gifts of food and coins. He thanked me again, and I finally began my journey home. As I crossed the mountain path, I looked back one last time. The city shone under the sun, full of life, but I knew that magic still lived there, even if the curse was broken. When I returned to my village, my brother and sister ran to me. Their faces lit with joy, and their arms held me tight. I gave them the food and gold, and we laughed with happiness. For a time, life seemed simple again. We ate well, we repaired our small house, and we even bought new nets for fishing. The villagers looked at us with respect, and I felt stronger than before. But at night, the sea still called me. Sometimes, when I cast my net, I thought I saw strange lights under the waves. Once I pulled up a fish with eyes too human, staring at me with silent words. I threw it back quickly, but the memory stayed in my mind. One evening, as the sun set red over the water, I walked alone on the sand. The waves moved softly, and the sky darkened. I thought of the giant. Was he still watching me from the depths? Did he laugh at my fear, or did he wait for another chance to bind me to his power? I would never know, but I felt certain that the sea had not finished its story with me. My life continued. My brother grew strong, my sister learned to sing, and we lived better than before. Yet I carried a secret inside me. No one in the village knew about the giant or the cursed city. They thought the gold had come from luck or from kindness of the ruler. Only I knew the truth, and I held it close, like a heavy stone in my chest. Years later, when I looked back, I understood more clearly. The sea had given me a test. It had asked me if I could hold both fear and hope in the same heart. It had shown me that even gifts can carry danger, and even curses can open doors to freedom. I was no longer the same poor girl who pushed her boat into the water with empty hands. I was someone who had walked through secrets, betrayal, and magic, and returned with my family still alive. Sometimes I wondered what happened to the young king. Did he rule with wisdom after the queen's death? Did he find peace, or did he always feel the shadow of her magic? And the ruler who had killed so easily, did his city grow strong, or did greed destroy him in the end? The sea never answered me. As for the giant, I believe he still drifts in the smoke of the jar, waiting for another soul to open it. Perhaps one day, another poor fisherman will find it. Perhaps another heart will face the same choice I did. To trust or not to trust, to free or to trap. Now when I sit by the shore, I hear the waves whisper. They remind me of that day when my net brought up more than fish. They remind me that every gift carries a shadow, and every secret has a cost. I do not fear the sea anymore, but I respect it. I know it can take as quickly as it gives. The fisherman's secret is not only mine, it belongs to anyone who listens to the waves, who dares to look beyond the surface of the water. If you listen closely, you may hear it too. And if one day the sea offers you something strange, remember my story. Ask yourself carefully, what would you do? Thank you for listening until the end. This story was special to me, and I hope it touched you too. Please write a comment to tell me what part stayed with you most. And if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel and share it with a friend who also loves stories.